The Inca girl definitely was a piece of cake, piece of cookie, piece of apple pie, piece of peas. Salute.
Salute.
And big applause.
Big applause. Yay!
Oh man, we got it.
We got it.
We survived on Inca trail. Again. So, do you have any ideas or any opinions about the meaning of Machu Picchu? What does Machu Picchu mean?
What does it mean?
What does Machu Picchu mean?
Sir?
Machu Picchu.
The word?
Yeah. What does Machu Picchu mean? Muy bien, señores.
Every young.
No, that's when you wine.
Yeah, we got that. She hasn't got the map, you see.
Okay. Machu Picchu means old mountain.
Yes, that was exactly what I wanted. Just a little slow.
She's been on holiday, you see.
It's the attitude.
Nobody home.
Altitude. Altitude. So altitude. So Machu Picchu mountain is facing that way.
Yes.
And the mountain that we can see in front in the clouds, it's Huayna Picchu.
Machu Picchu.
Huayna Picchu means young mountain.
Young mountain.
Here we can see another mountain. So that's Putukusi. Putukusi means happy snail or happy seashell. You know, the kind.
Yeah.
Looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you remember the huge boulders, you notice, look this mountain with more detail. It's exactly on the same shape, that boulder that we have seen on the way down. Yeah, exactly on the same shape. So 3 mountains surrounding the settlement and protecting, senores, this settlement. This is the reason why these people in every settlement consider these mountains like important masters, you know, the protectors from each of these settlements. So this is the reason why they worship these mountains. They consider, you know, like I say, mountains. The thing is, Machu Picchu and Huayna Picchu are associated because the settlement is located between this mountain and that mountain in the background. So between these 2 mountains is the settlement. Yeah? This is the simple reason why the historian, the last century, senores, named this place Machu Picchu. Because according to the historical references and according to the first explorers who have been already in Cusco, senores, and exploring the Sergit Valley of the Incas, going to the jungle, to the Amazon jungle, they're gonna publish it already, maps, like cartography maps from the Sergit Valley of the Incas, from Urubamba Valley. And on this cartography maps already exist the name of the mountain Machu Picchu and Huayna Picchu. But we are not talking in this occasion about the settlement yet. Until 1901, Antonio Raimondi, one of the first explorers who came originally from Italy, 1878, crossed down this valley going to the jungle, same as Augusto Bern, originally from Germany, crossed also down this valley, 1887. And these guys publish it already, these cartographic maps, and on these maps exist already Machu Picchu and Huayna Picchu. So it's something, you know, impressive. It's unbelievable how these guys, these explorers, never found these settlements, senores, if especially they crossed just nearby. Because we can imagine how covered by vegetation was this settlement. And 1901, senores, was found by accident by one of these local farmers. So that was by Agustin Lizárraga. 1901 will be arriving to Machu Picchu and then finding this settlement completely covered by vegetation. 1901. 1906, arriving 2 families to live close to Machu Picchu and also approaching some of these terraces for farming. So, señores, Toribio Richarte and Anacleto Alvarez already living close to Machu Picchu when Hiram Bingham arrived here in 1911. So, Hiram Bingham, señores, came originally from United States. Okay, so this guy was a historian professor from the Yale University, archaeology student. Hiram Bingham, señores, was already in Chile, 1909. He participated in one of the important congress in Chile with many historians. And 1911, he will be coming back already with the first expedition, Hiram Bingham expedition. So that's in 1911. And he came to South America in order to follow exactly the same route, the same road that these liberators, José de San Martín and Simón Bolívar, señores, to get the independence from each of these countries in South America, señores, took year 1800. Yeah. So Hiram Bingham decided to follow the same way because he got lots of information about these accountancies that really happened with these liberators. Because José de San Martín proclaimed our independence in 1821. Yeah. So after 1821, Peruvians living kind of freedom from this Spanish domination people. Yeah. And Bolívar, like making sure this independent, so will be participated in different battles as well with the Spaniards. Yeah. That's why finally 1824, so was completely got already our independence. So Bolívar from Venezuela and San Martin from Argentina, so could get the independence of this country. Yeah. The thing is, Hiram Bingham, señores, when he arrived to Peru, when he arrived to Cusco, such a little coincidence, will be meeting with another North American guy. So this guy was Alberto Gisek. Alberto Gisek, señores, was already the governing of one of the ancient universities in Cusco, Saint Anthony Abad. Okay, that university, señores, was founded approximately the second half of 17th century, year 1600. And this guy was already such a governing of that university, 1911. That means Alberto Gisek, señores, was living in Cusco more than 10 years already. This North American guy. And Alberto Gisek already got information from these locals about the existence of Machu Picchu. So that means they have been talking each other, and Hiram Bingham already hearing some information about Machu Picchu, the settlement. He decided to follow the Sacred Valley of the Incas and will be excavating also in Ollantaytambo. And 1911, señores, as I told you days before, already exists a horseman trail. So that horseman trail was already communicated with the Amazon jungle, with the rainforest, was already communicated with Vilcabamba. So, señores, Hiram Bingham was looking for Vilcabamba, no Machu Picchu. Okay? That was the real purpose when we started with this expedition. Because 1909, same as he visited, so Chile, same as he participated in that congress, he already visited the National Museum of Lima. So that means after that, he was already interested to explore, to know something else about our ancestors, about these civilizations. So this is the reason, señores, why he had to follow the Sacred Valley of the Incas, and following this horseman trail, he crossed down this valley. But before to keep going to Vilcabamba, already exploring in Machu Picchu. So Hiram Bingham, señores, will be arriving to Machu Picchu July 24th in 1911 and doing the scientific discovery of Machu Picchu. So that means Hiram Bingham, señores, showed this settlement to the world. So that means like he rediscovered Machu Picchu. Okay, and he showed it to the world. So he arrived to Vilcabamba, he went back to US, and 1912 it's coming back to Peru, coming back to Machu Picchu with a second expedition. And it's staying here until 1915. So between 1912 and 1915, Senores Hiram Bingham basically will be already different expert people in here. In 1811, Hiram Bingham was here just for a few hours, taking pictures mainly, and then he moved away. But 1912, we'll be coming back already to stay here for longer, and also already to exhumate, you know, the bodies, to excavate, digging in different areas, in different sectors. So that's why there are important informations about the different artifacts that were found by Hiram Bingham. So we're talking about 173 mummies or burials that were found in total in Machu Picchu.
All in one area?
No, in different areas. But on the upper part, next to that single building with a thatched roof, on that area, Hiram Bingham found most of these mummies. This is the reason also why he considered that area like graveyards for the cemetery. Okay? But in different sections also he found more burials, and talking about potteries, utensils, he found a lot of potteries. You know, nowadays we can say like kitchenware, but made of clay material. Okay? And we found implements for farmers. The implements for farmers were like plow, you know, the plow foot for plowing.
Oh, yes.
Okay? So in a colonial time they introduced the plowing system, pulling by horses or by a couple of bulls, by cows. But at that time, just one person was in charge, you know, for plowing, the plow foot. Chakitachria, it is called in Quechua. Okay? I think here I have it. Let me see. There is this kind of stuff. Chakitachria. Yeah, for plowing. It's still for plowing. So, señores, basically these mummies were found with all their utensils like this. Okay? So, señores, what else? He found also implements for weavers. You know the implements for weavers?
Weavers?
Yeah,
Weavers.
for weavers.
Weavers.
You know the weavers were these ladies were in charge to make the knitting process, weaving process, making textiles. Yeah,
Weavers.
yeah, the weavers.
Weavers.
And also were found like mortars, the boulders that they use for grinding different crops. Okay, and these boulders came from the river, very smooth boulders, like flat boulders, like mortars for grinding different crops. Were found also, señores, tools. But the tools, so basically were made of just the natural iron. Because the catchers never discovered the wheel, the catchers never discovered the steel metal. Okay? They never discovered the steel metal because South American civilization, señores, arrived only to Bronze Age, according to the chronology in this continent. You know, if we compare with Europe, Asia, Africa, notice it's such a huge difference comparing with South America, because South America is very young in comparison with Asia, Africa, and Europe. So that's why we're talking about the older civilizations, in this context. So it's such a big difference how in advance were already these civilizations. But in this part of, the world, these people, even they just discovered the natural iron, they're still making the stronger tools to fracture the different types of rocks in here. Because they used bronze material, amethyst, obsidian tools, so different materials to make their tools. And in terms of weapons, senores, were found just a minimum percentage, because Machu Picchu, according to the location, senores, it's in very inaccessible area. Okay, and it's impossible to say that Machu Picchu was a fortress. So Machu Picchu, senores, was more like a religious area, a spiritual center, astronomical center. Okay, and in here also exist, we can say, different institutions, same like in Cusco, but the little differences between Cusco and Machu Picchu is so Cusco was bigger, okay, and Machu Picchu, so we're talking almost about the same hierarchies, but in terms of the architecture, in terms of the religious astronomy, having, the same idea, okay, the same knowledge, same like in Cusco, because that was the only way, senores, for these people to control the whole population. So why was that technique? Because it was not necessary to take everybody, especially in the biggest holidays, to Cusco City. Because in every settlement, they already had these religious areas, astronomical observatories, and then celebrating, the special ceremonies at home, and maybe just the chief, the leaders, going to Cusco, and the rest of the population, so celebrating these festivals at home. So that's why we have been talking yesterday, senores, in Winnie Waina. They were celebrating the same festival in all this Incan territory, but in different sequences, like in different times. Okay, so that was the point. So, senores, what happened with these artifacts, with all these mines that were found? Of course, when we're talking about gold and silver material, we're found just a minimum percentage. Maybe that's because themselves have been taken all the researches themselves. Why? Because Machu Picchu, senores, maybe was founded up to 1536. Why? Because 1536 will be starting the first rebellion, Manco Inca versus the Spaniards. But at the same time, Manco Inca, senores, which was the half brother of Huáscar and Atahualpa, was chosen by the Spaniards after Atahualpa was decapitated by the Spaniards. After he paid for, we can say nowadays, the most expensive ransom. That's estimated like in 500 million US dollars. That's in gold and silver. That Atahualpa had to give then to get his freedom, but after he gave this ransom, he was decapitated anyway.
Oh, jeez.
Okay?
Wow.
Oh my goodness, Jesus Christ. Senores. So, 1536, after Atahualpa was decapitated 1533, Manco Inca was chosen apparently as the next leader, as the next king. But if this guy was chosen by the Spaniards, Manco Inca, senores, was already like the puppet king. Because he was making everything according to the Spanish people convening. Okay? That was like, that control was more like politics. Yeah? But Manco Inca helped him, not for long, just for a few years. And in these few years, this guy was very smart. He already checked what was the real purpose of these people, why they came here. And he learned fast, senores, about the real purpose of these people. Especially if they have been going to different settlements and then exterminate, the people, in some cases, unfortunately for fun, and stealing, gold, silver in different places. And Manco Inca, after these few years helping the Spanish, he decided to escape away, and he's going to organize the first rebellion, which was in 1536. So that means, before that, the people, senores, in Machu Picchu are still occupying this settlement, so still living in here. But after Manco Inca has been beaten by the Spanish people in 1536, he escaped away to Vilcabamba. And these people were not safe anymore if these people were still living in here. So Manco Inca, senores, was decapitated after he was captured in 1542 already, after 6 years from that rebellion. So that means the people who were still living here so had like less than 10 years to leave this settlement. And Manco Inca, senores, didn't take the same way that we took anymore. Manco Inca, to escape away to Vilcabamba, before he was captured, he took different way. So we can say nowadays he took the long way, not the shortcut. Because crossing by the Inca Trail, Machu Picchu, and going to Vilcabamba was the shortcut to get Vilcabamba. But he took the long way, different way. So maybe, senores, he took on purpose. And at the same time, the people who are still living here have to abandon this settlement, because Manco Inca told them, okay, senores, the Spanish are closer and closer. We have to move from here. We destroy the main trails, and these people won't be coming to this part of this territory anymore. And he got it, definitely, because the Spanish will be arriving to Vilcabamba, are taken exactly the same way as Manco Inca has been taken. So Manco Inca was captured in Vilcabamba, but the Spanish already escaped Machu Picchu, because they didn't take this trail anymore. They didn't follow part of the Sacred Valley anymore. They took different way. They went directly to the Amazon jungle, La Convención, Quillabamba, so that's one of the provinces of Cusco, already in the rainforest, and they arrived to Vilcabamba. So the Spanish will be arriving to Vilcabamba in 1542. And they're going to discover the Amazon River in 1542. Francisco de Orellana, it's one of these captains who discovered the Amazon River in 1542. So basically they named it Amazon River. Okay, so senores, so now little by little we get in our conclusions that Machu Picchu was protected for many years, basically by the last Inca chief. And same as they saved this settlement for many years, the nature also protected for many years, and finally the Spanish never found this settlement. It's logic to understand, if they would have found this settlement, maybe they would have built another church. We don't know. Or maybe just people living already here, if they would have found. So if 1901 was found by one of the local farmers, 1906 arriving these two families, and 1911 the scientific discovery of Machu Picchu, 1915 Hiram Bingham abandoned Machu Picchu, and all these artifacts have been taken by Mr. Bingham to examine it, about the chronology, what date, what century Machu Picchu, senores, was occupied. And thanks to carbon-14 that they were already employed in the year 1900, the last century, senores, Machu Picchu was occupied up to 1440s approximately, until 1530s we can say. Okay, so almost 100 years that Machu Picchu was occupied, and Machu Picchu maybe was built like in 2 or 3 different generations of different Inca kings. So estimated between 60 to 70 years. So, senores, the thing is, when Machu Picchu one day was built, here were living nobles. The kings come in sometimes in here to stay for a while, same as we were explaining yesterday in Winnie, and then keep moving, keep traveling. Okay? Because this is the reason why, same as Machu Picchu is spread up, you know, it's like divided in two different sections. Because right now we are into the farming area or the agriculture area, señores. On the other side, it's the urban area. And into the urban area will be located temples, palaces, important residences for these people, religious areas, astronomical observatories, and this area basically for farming, for agriculture. This is the middle farming area, and on the top the upper farming area, and unfortunately on the lower part many terraces are still overground. So that's the lower farming area. But we're gonna see later on part of these terraces have been already uncovered. Okay? So if we include these terraces which is still overground, señores, Machu Picchu was huge. But in terms of the population, according to Manuel Chavez Bayón, one of the important local archaeologists, maybe here exists, so he's supposed, here there are like 200 living houses. So, if there are like 200 living houses, señores, we consider between 3 or 4 people each member, we're talking just about 600 or 800 people living in this settlement. If sometimes we're coming the pilgrims, you know, the visitors, so still less than 1,000 people living in Machu Picchu. But do you think, this is just a simple question, do you think all these terraces they were approaching, you know, harvesting, you think all this production was subsiding to all this population, especially if they were living all year long? What do you think, senores? Wasn't enough. Wasn't enough. Because they were not enjoying only corn. So basically they were enjoying all this stuff as well. Like these little grains, potatoes, dry meat, coca leaves. Definitely they didn't grow coca leaves in here because this is high elevation for coca leaves yet. So the coca leaves transporting from down to the rainforest. So the thing is, señores, all this production they were harvesting in here, they were subsiding only to 25 or 30% of the population. So that means the 70% of the population depends so much of these supplies that came from outside. Okay? So one more reason, señores, to understand, when the population dropped down in here, little by little, so not much, you know, work anymore. To subside, you know, in this working in here. Plus, the supplies is not coming anymore when after the Sacred Valley. So these people couldn't stay here for longer. Especially if these famous conquistadors have been already in the Sacred Valley. Another risk. Then any time they would have been here. Okay? So this is also one of the reasons why Machu Picchu one day was abandoned. Okay? This is one of the reasons. The other reason is malnutrition. And also different strange diseases, you know, illnesses. And these illnesses were not introduced only by these people. You know, señores, America, when it was discovered? You know, America was discovered approximately 1492 by Christopher Columbus. You know,
that's disputable because the Vikings say they came to Newfoundland long before that.
That's I wanted to go.
Yeah. Okay,
That's I wanted to go.
Sorry.
So no, thank you very much for your poetry. So that's I wanted to go. So why I'm saying that I wanted to go, because that's according to the history, right? But the first explorers, señores, who were going in, we can see in all the world, in different adventures, definitely were the Vikings. Okay, the Scandinavians. Because there are remains nearby Canada, right?
Yeah, Newfoundland.
Were found.
Yeah.
And also, just some years ago, through the Atlantic Ocean, nearby Brazil, were found like ship through the ocean. And this ship, senores, maybe came from these people, the Scandinavians. Okay, so now it's logic to understand, according to the early historians, before the Spaniards arrived, Huayna Capac, the father of Huáscar, Atahualpa, and Manco Inca, senores, died with missiles. And that was before the Spanish people arrived. So that means there were some people already exploring this, so this part of the world. And then, senores, there exist already some strange illnesses that was killing already these people. Okay? Yes, so, senores, now talking about the real purpose of this segment, Machu Picchu, as I told you, would have been the second most important city of this Incan territory. But we are not talking in terms of the population, because Cusco was the most populated city, same as Cusco was the capital of this Incan territory. Okay, and senores, the population in Cusco maybe was approximately 100,000 people. If right now Cusco Valley, all these constructions that we can see on the top of these Inca foundations, and of course many years ago they destroyed as well the foundations, the original foundations to build from down to the bottom to the top. And then we dig in more and more by this eucalyptus forest, nowadays we can say, there will be more and more foundations of these living houses.
Okay.
And we are moving all these new constructions literally out, we'll be finding that ancient settlements.
Ah.
So Cusco was a huge settlement at that time already. Okay? So, as I told you, in Cusco exists the House of the Chosen Women. So that was named in Quechua Ahya Wasi. In Cusco exists like schools, for the boys, for the noble class people. Yachay Wasi. So Yachay Wasi is like a school to learn about different knowledges, about different techniques. In Machu Picchu exist also these institutions, but smaller. Okay? So, the house, the chosen women, senores, were ladies or girls with different functions, different responsibilities. Because just part, like a minimum percentage, part of these girls were the chosen of the sun, dedicated to the religious, not all of them. Sometimes it's a mistake, we say the chosen of the sun, not all of them were the chosen of the sun. Okay, just part of these girls. Because the other girls were already learning about different functions with all their ladies, which were the teachers. Because the boys, the older, the men were completely forbidden to go inside of these institutions. Because the teachers also were the older ladies. And the older ladies were in charge, to give different instructions to these people, so to these ladies, to these girls. And there are also some informations that there were specific ladies, their destinations, and I think it's going to be something gorgeous. Their destination was to get married with important chief leaders of different other civilizations. Because the Quechuas, not all the time, senores, this civilization, not all the time were looking for fighting. Not all the time. Because sometimes they were looking for alliances. Nowadays, what we say, senores, like free trade agreement, alliances. But for these alliances, we're given the best trophy. And the best trophy, senores, were the beautiful girls who were learning about different responsibilities in these institutions, and these ladies getting married with the chief or the leaders of these different tribes, and then integrated. This is the reason also, senores, why they spoke different languages. But the official language that everybody's supposed to learn was the Quechuasini or Runasini, the Quechua language. Okay, and Census exist, the different institutions here, senores, the boys, the girls were studying about social, politician, economy, religious, astronomy, hydraulic engineering that the pre-Incan civilization already developed, and then the Incas were taking this technique. Agronomy, accounting system, you know, the record keepers looks like abacus, you know, in Asia. Ropes with many strings hanging looks like abacus for the contability. So that means exist already, like accountants. Nowadays we say, you know, accountants already exist, this kind of people at that time. But these people who used to have that knowledge basically were from the noble class, not the low class. So that's why in every settlement were living these knowledgeable people. So the nobles in different provinces. Okay? And same as they were learning about the different techniques, different knowledges, practicing in situ. So that's why, thanks to these keepers, senores, maybe these people already having like census, because that was the only way, you know, in terms of the distribution, you know, to spread out how much of production should stay in one specific place, and show how much of production should go to these storehouses, the granaries, because from these granaries in everywhere we're approaching to supplies with the milk to these people who were participating in the public works. Sometimes we think that these people were considered like slaves, not slaves, because these people, senores, even they have been in the low class, they're still getting benefit from the state. Because that was more like working in really good relationship, in really good coordination between the middle class and the low class people. So what the king was making, so the king, senores, was trying to satisfy all the expectation between the middle class and the low class people. So that means working in really good relationship. So getting the benefit to themselves and getting the benefit for the state. Okay, so that's why it was very important for these people to check their obligation. Okay, because that was the only way, you know, to help in this advance. Okay, in this development. Otherwise, they would stay also like, you know, without any benefit. So because, so that was already, they understood, they learned it very well. Then they had different kind of responsibilities that they needed to support the state, but the support. So the state also have to support these people, because nobody, notice, these people were not such a free done also from natural phenomena, you know, like disasters, mudslides, different disasters. Yeah. So these people were having this kind of problems. The state immediately thinking already in their population. Okay, if you missed your living houses, your farming area, so okay, we have here mills to supply you, and then help each other. Okay, so for that reason, exists in every settlement. So you know, enough food to supply everybody. And one more thing, senores, in terms of the economy, no currency at that time. If no currency, they already employing the bartering system. And the bartering system until the last decades, senores, is still surviving, but now, unfortunately, already dying part of this tradition. The bartering system. According they grew up in different places. According they grew up, they produced anything in different specific places. Of course, according to the ecosystems or the microclimates, senores, they were bartering, like exchanging. Okay, because no currency at that time. But we can say about coca leaves. So coca leaves transporting from down to the jungle, through the Andes, through the coast, because everybody appreciated the coca leaves, especially coca leaves chewing. You know, it was possible to get a lot of energy. Okay, and the other stuff that they really appreciated was salt for cooking. Salt appreciated so much the people in the highland, because they couldn't get salt in the highland, so they were getting, you know, in Cusco, nearby Cusco, the local people still exploiting a lot of salt. Maybe you heard about Salinas, Maras Moray. So in this place, the local people is still exploiting the salt. They're just collecting the running water, which is salty water, like sea water, and then collecting like in sinks, you know, making pools on the ground, and then collecting like every 3 days, every week. And thanks to the evaporation, the water may disappear underground and the salt material is staying on the top. So getting between 2-3 inches thick because the water already goes underground, and then like shocking. And then refined it in Cusco, for businesses. So the pre-Incan civilization, senores, already exploiting on the same place that salt material. It's more like natural spring, a little bit warm. And when you put your hand inside, after 3-5 minutes, already getting a white color, completely white. And the water is completely salty. Okay, so this kind of stuff, these people maybe were using like currency. Okay, about bartering. So everybody appreciated salt and also cookery. Okie dokie? Karaoke? Muy bien, señores. So now we're gonna explore the most important sections. But could you stand in just for a while? I want to join everybody here just to show you the copies and then to understand how covered by vegetation was Machu Picchu until 1911. Because 1912 they're going to start uncovering this settlement. Please come in. This way. And look, this is kind of interesting, you must watch